Hey guys, welcome back to Resistance Chicks. I'm your host. Leah will be with us shortly. Here's the thing. We kind of have some breaking news. We have Henry Bolton has been voted no confidence, which I find kind of shocking, but not at all. I guess I was a little bit more shocked that it was a unanimous vote, more than anything else. So I want to play for you guys while we're waiting for Leah, and I understand that this is the BBC, but let's just listen. I was watching Nigel's show earlier today, and he kind of started out that they were going to do this vote, and I was just like, okay, let's see what happens. And I was pleasantly surprised. I think it was Barry that sent this video to me well in advance for me to do the show so I could get it to you in time. So, all right, let's see what the BBC, unfortunately, has to say. But it was played on Robin Hood UKIP's channel. So, all right. Hopefully.
Jenny Hill reporting there from Berlin. Some breaking news to bring you now. UKIP's ruling committee has unanimously backed a vote of no confidence in the party leader, Henry Bolton. Mr Bolton has been appearing on the political programmes this morning, saying that he will not quit his job. He says that the party has no right to judge him because of his personal life. The vote of no confidence was being held today at an emergency meeting after offensive texts emerged last week that had been sent by his former girlfriend. But in the last few minutes, the UKIP chairman, Paul Oakden, has been explaining their decision this afternoon.
This afternoon, a meeting of UKIP's National Executive Committee came together to discuss the future of its leader, our party leader Henry Bolton. They decided to take a vote of no confidence in Henry Bolton as our leader. That vote was carried unanimously with the exception of Henry Bolton himself. This now means that UKIP will go through the process of having an emergency general meeting of the party. That will take place within 28 days of today's date. Our membership will be written to within the next 10 days, outlining details of where and when the meeting will take place. And the membership at that meeting will have their opportunity to decide on whether or not they reject or support that vote of no confidence. Thank you.
All right, so there you have it. I think it's a little bit hilarious here that he's saying, I'm not going to step down. Dude, Henry, I understand why you think that you should not have to step down, that your personal life is your personal life. However, the party has the right to vote you out for any reason. So the fact that he's saying he's not going to quit, he's not going to step down, he's the only one that voted for himself.
This is Anne-Marie Waters. She says, when a party puts image over substance and then that image goes drastically awry, that party deserves everything that is coming to it. Henry Bolton's, I guess, chief campaign manager stepped down. But, you know, even sadder was, I believe it was yesterday or the day before, Henry Bolton's wife has an infant child who she is breastfeeding. And he left her. And I have to tell you, if you're going to leave your breastfeeding wife, you're not going to take care of your country, and you do not need to be leader of a country.
Boom. Or a party, for that matter. A significant... UKIP is the party that voted Brexit. That's a pretty significant amount of people. And yes. You can't be in charge of that. I'm sorry, Henry.
I guess his girlfriend is some sort of model, is 25 years old, and he's just full of himself, I guess, right now, is what his campaign manager said. This is his wife, is his Russian wife. He has two, but, I mean, like, he's not, I mean, this is, I guess it's his third wife. So, he's a player, and,
you think?
He's playing Brexit. He's playing, UKIP. He's playing with people, and so, you know.
And I understand Anne-Marie being a little bit bitter because they chose the adulterer over her, you know. However.
And I guess she made some racist remarks against Meghan Markle.
Oh, well, there is that.
But he doesn't really.
I would have been a little bit more, I would have taken advantage of the situation. you know, I wouldn't have been so hard line like this is all the party's fault because they voted for Bolton. I would have kind of like slipped back in. Hey, you still want me? You know, like, I don't know. It just seems that she's a very angry woman. A little bit. So, which, you know that video that we the interview, with Jordan Peterson, where he talked a lot about there are women that get into these positions, and kudos to them for doing it, but they're a little bit more hard and harsh, a lot of times. And I think she's kind of the epitome of that.
Yeah.
The go get 'em, just kind of not as soft and feminine as other women would be. Even Theresa May is softer than Anne Marie, unfortunately.
Well, and it's not that she needs to be soft. I think that I got into a little Twitter conversation with her, and I've never gotten into really look at this, Twitter conversations with many I don't know, quote, famous-y type people on Twitter. But she was angry at Ann Coulter, and because of Ann Coulter said some things about women, and you know, I don't think, here's the thing. Anne Marie Waters, if she knew my stance on feminism, she wouldn't work with me either.
Right.
I know a lot of you guys like her, but I would work with her.
Right.
But she wouldn't work with me.
True.
And Coulter wanted to work with Anne Marie, but she wouldn't work with her. And Gavin McInnes. And because our stance on traditional family and the fact that we believe that women are happiest when they are married and they have children and they have a loving husband and they don't have to go work a 9-to-5 job outside of the home. Not that you can't work, but that you're forced to leave your children behind. You know, there's a lot of things that women can do inside the home to, you know, bring in an income. But I want to give you a little bit I want to bring this to a personal level to his wife. Her name is Tatiana Smirnova. She's 41, and she said that her world has fallen apart.
Wow.
And she says that she told how Mr. Bolton denied he was about to leave her when she confronted him 2 weeks ago and said, "My world has fallen apart." The 42-year-old was left shocked after pictures emerged in her home of 45-year-old Mr. Bolton's new partner, Joe. So he brought her in to his house.
Yeah.
That is not a leader. You don't bring the enemy into the house. In one of the images, the topless model has her feet up on a stool, bought
I think that's the
to
picture that's going
celebrate
around.
a wedding anniversary. He's a jerk.
Yeah.
He is a jerk. Just
Okay,
horrible
we
pictures.
don't have to show that.
Well, I didn't want to show
it was an
that.
accident, I know.
I'm still breastfeeding his child, for goodness sake. What kind of person runs away to sleep with another woman, leaving 2 small children over Christmas? I feel as though I've been thrown into a cold ocean and I'm trying to stay on the surface. And sharing her own pictures, the jilted wife set out to debunk lies that she and her husband had already separated. One of them shows smiling Mr. Bolton with his hand on her knee. It was taken just 3 days after he was snapped with his arm draped around his new wife. Mr. Bolton, a family of 3, claimed his wife had been living abroad since July and insisted there had been no clandestine affair. But his wife alleges he sent her a loving text on Christmas Eve and told how she only found out he had left her on December 30th when he dropped the bombshell in a text message.
Oh my. Because that's the classy way to do it.
So
in a text. I have to tell you, text messages have really kind of ruined our society. I mean, when it used to take a real man to, at least if you're going to do the deed, you ought to be upfront. A telephone call, maybe, at least. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I'm not, there's no love lost here. I've not really been a fan too much of Bolton anyway, but the fact that he's just still being, I'm not stepping down, I don't know.
Yeah.
He's a jerk. Let's see. Rip Baza says, Bolton has not shown himself to be the man he purported to be. He was not and is not honorable.
Right.
Well said, Barry.
Right.
All right. So what else do we have?
This is just a little clip, but it speaks volumes.
We're going to play it a couple times so you can catch it, because it's almost like, and the way that Worth a Look had said it, it's like you let the cat out of the bag. I had the same reaction. Like, Leah thinks it wasn't exactly a flub. To me, it feels like a flub. So you guys can decide what you think.
No, I think he's known this all along. I think that he's not.
But I don't think he wanted to say it. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
think he meant to say it.
I don't think he wanted to say it, but we don't know volume.
Hang on.
Hold the phone.
I don't know how
Let me.
loud it'll be anyway.
Okay, you have. Okay.
Oh, well, okay, go ahead.
Take a risk when you have such a referendum. Just yes or no in a very complicated context.
If
And
France had had a referendum, it might have had the same result.
yeah, probably.
Probably.
In a similar context, but our context was very different. So I don't want to make any.
See?
I mean, to take any bets, but I would have definitely fought very hard to win.
Yeah, see, to me, the way that he had to stop and rethink, wait a minute, what did I just say? This isn't my native language. How do I back out of this? How do I cover up? Because if it's in your own native language, you can cover up for a flub, okay? We do it all the time. But seriously, he had to pause, and that's really embarrassing. When you have to pause to collect your thoughts like that news anchor did on the Jordan Peterson interview, then you know that you have said something you didn't mean to say.
Take a risk when you have such a referendum. Just yes or no in a very complicated context.
If France had had a referendum, it might have had the same result.
Yeah, probably. In a
This is
similar.
my favorite part.
Oh,
Probably. In a similar context, but our context was very different. So I don't want to make any.
Oops.
I mean, to take any bets, but I would have definitely
I would have
fought
fought
very hard to win.
To win.
right.
Overtime.
Okay.
Always take a risk when you have such a referendum. Just yes or no in a very complicated context.
If France had had a referendum, it might have had the same result.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He doesn't think.
probably. In a similar context, but our context was very different. So I don't want to make any.
Uh-oh, I said it.
I mean, to take any bets, but
I said it. The
Well,
French
and then
people-
actually he also says, I don't want to make any, and then he says, take any bets. Now, English not being your native language, make and take are very close, right? So that's an easy flub. For if English was his native language, then I would have said that he really did mean to say make any bets. Are you making bets, Macron? Are you trying to make some bets here about what's going on? I don't know.
So yeah, speaking of France here, we've got this clip here from RT. Thanks to Justin Worth Look sent me quite a few links today. He sent me that one. So I want to give hats off to him. And France is not doing a good job controlling any borders.
Yeah.
They burned the whole Calais camp, but and here's the thing. If somebody's living in my backyard, I can kick them out. I know how. I'm not even a country with an army and police. It's
Right.
like if somebody's doing something illegal, then you can make them stop doing something illegal, whatever
Right.
your laws are. Okay? If somebody is illegally living in a camp in your country, then you do something
If they were in
about
our
it.
backyard, I would go and to maybe take a broom to them or something.
And
Let the dogs out.
these young men are literally like, I'm sorry, they look like vermin. They look like rats. They look like skittering little bugs. They climb on lorries, which are trucks. They stop cars. They throw rocks at the police. It's just absolutely it's insanity. And it does no service to the African people to see some people acting like this, because it's kind of like when somebody in your school or somebody in your family, you're making me ashamed. Okay, you're acting like a fool, and you're shaming the family.
Yeah.
Okay, and they're shaming the African family because they're acting, and then they come into these countries and then they demand rights, and they demand money, and they demand housing, and it's absolutely absurd. All right.
Member of the Welsh Assembly, Nathan Gill. He argues that France is ignoring the problem of migrants travelling through the country.
Border security has been looked after by the French on their side of the channel since 2003, when there was a entente arranged between Blair and Chirac. And it went very well before there was this migrant crisis. But we must understand that the migrant crisis was actually instigated by the European Union and EU policies. The fact that they do not control their borders, that they are allowing anybody into their country, and then through Schengen they can walk across the continent, camp up on Calais, and wait until they can get onto a passing transport to get into England. Well, this is wrong. And under the Dublin Accord, the Dublin Agreement, the French government have a responsibility to check and find people who are there illegally and take them back to the first country to which they turned up. So why are we paying an extra £45 million?
Why are these kids hanging around?
Right.
Drinking water, getting food. No, if you're caught here, you're going back. We're getting you on a boat. We're taking you back. We're taking you back home.
Yes.
Okay? This is not how this works. They're just hanging out.
You don't just get to land and then all of a sudden all of your basic human needs are provided for. It just doesn't happen.
But the way that they're just hanging out, like just waiting for one of their buddies to come off the truck or something. It's weird.
To basically get the French to control our borders, a problem that the French and the Germans and the EU have created in the first place. Both countries have a responsibility, but the French are not taking care of their responsibility, watching their borders or where they border with Germany and other countries. In fact, they're just allowing people to wander through their country, to congregate in Calais, and then they are hoping that they basically are dealt with.
This is absolutely weird. Watching a bunch of like old white guys like leaning in to hear from a refugee. So weird.
Well, no, actually, they're not even hoping that they're dealt with. They're just ignoring the problem.
I was also joined earlier by the author of the EU's Payments Paradox, Bob Liddon. He told me Britain's payment to France is just another sum to add to the Brexit bill.
Really, it's just another 45 million that's part of the Brexit negotiation, isn't it? The idea this is separate is an illusion. We've now agreed to pay another 45 million pounds to France for actions that we pay ourselves here.
They're not doing anything.
Right.
$45 million. Like, seriously, $45 million extra dollars to try to control their borders. And they're not doing it. It's insane.
Well, we pay for ourselves.
Very important actions. In fact, you could say France is doing our dirty work for us over there on the other side of the channel, because obviously it's preventing illegal migrants coming to this country and, of course, preventing the chances of a jungle appearing on British shores. The French are having to deal with the problems over there.
It's a self-created problem, as we heard from the previous MEP. It's the Calais problem has arisen due to their own laxity and other measures.
Hasn't it arisen from British foreign policy as well, along with other?
You could argue that. Yes, we could blame it on Tony Blair, but I think perhaps let's not go there. I mean, that would be the person to blame, but perhaps that's not what we're here to discuss.
Where do you see Britain's relationship with France when it comes to Brexit? Some are saying this is payback for Brexit.
Well, I think,
but actually, surely we need to keep on the French side.
Firstly, it's an abominable negotiating precedent by Mrs. May. Firstly, from an already bad deal that she's offered, which was concluded in December, which is a start point for negotiation. That's not the finish. That means we won't pay less than what we agreed in December. It'll probably be more. So is she negotiating with the European Commission, or is she then on top of that allowing member states, what are there, 27 heads of government to come over here and extract bilateral concessions, which all moves the envelope along? So she shouldn't have discussed this at all. She should say it's either part of the negotiations with the Commission or we're not discussing it. But don't allow a situation where we give away to the Commission, then we allow other member states to come bilaterally and we give away to them. And what do we get back?
Isn't France playing a pivotal role in Brexit negotiations?
Yeah, they are, and they're undermining them.
But that's why we have to really keep them on side.
No, it isn't. We keep them on side by saying, here's the position that is beneficial to us, and let's negotiate together from there. We try to meet in the middle. We don't keep moving our start point further and further to them, and they keep moving it away.
Now, that's exactly, it's kind of like Peanuts with Lucy just pulling the ball away. every time, you know, somebody in the UK tries to make a, you know, a deal or something, they're like, nope, you know what? We're going to go backwards.
Yeah, just kidding.
Just kidding.
So now, just for the fun of it, because, and I don't know if you saw this or not, but there is, speaking of Theresa May, there is a little clip of a caller that called into Nigel Farage. And she makes Nigel laugh about her comments on Theresa May. So I want to play that really quickly if I can toss it in here. Because it's funny. And we can.
Tell me, do you feel that the Prime Minister has done the right thing or the wrong thing?
Oh, God, what has she done? She's just sold us out, doesn't she? She really has sold us out. She needs to go. She definitely needs to go. We've given her too many chances. She just needs to go.
Is it, Lorraine, is it that you just think she is a bit spineless, doesn't stand up for us? I mean,
spineless, she's gutless, she's spineless. I can't even bear to look at the woman's face. She makes me sick. I just can't even bear to look at her. Who am I going to vote for? I can't vote for Conservatives. I can't vote Labour. I can't vote UKIP. Who do I vote for?
Oh, Lorraine, well, that's a bigger debate. But, I mean... Now,
that is, yeah.
Now when you talk about Theresa May like that, I remember at the end of the Las Vegas debate, when Hillary and Trump had been tearing chunks out of each other, and the interviewer said, can you please say one nice thing about each other? Is there anything nice you can say about the Prime Minister, Lorraine?
No.
Nothing? Right.
No, because she's had too many chances, Nigel. Too many chances. And she's how many lives has she got? How many lives has she got? I mean, you know.
Lorraine, I have to say, I think in many ways you are right. I don't think she's a leader.
No, not at all.
She may be perfectly competent in a junior ministerial role. I don't see her as a Prime Minister. I don't see her as a leader. And I do think, you know, Jeremy Hunt went in to the Cabinet Office to have his job changed, and 2 hours later he came out, he was still in the same job.
Well, that speaks volumes, doesn't it?
So if she can't even shuffle her own team around...
Well, there you are, It speaks volumes, doesn't it?
Lorraine, she's not up to it. Thank you for the call. Thank you for the call. Calm down as the evening goes on, otherwise you won't be able to sleep. But I do understand your upset and your anger. You're not the only person feeling it.
Okay, so I just found that little clip a little bit hilarious.
Well, if we're doing Nigel, we have everything set up. And if you bring up the one link I just gave you from Google Docs, that's another Nigel clip. And he is asked about how Trump is doing 1 year in. He gets some pretty
put it in Google Docs?
Hard questions, yeah. And you guys were, you know, Donald Trump was inaugurated 1 year ago yesterday. And a lot of things have happened. It's been a really fast moving year. It's been quite exciting.
I can't believe it's been a year. It's so crazy.
Yeah. So we had some, we're going to possibly later tonight or maybe tomorrow we'll cover Donald Trump's, he's got a new ad out about illegal immigration. It's powerful. He also put together some people who are happy with what he's doing.
Now, from our London newsroom, by the former UKIP leader, Nigel Farage. Good morning, Nigel Farage. Thanks very much for joining us. How do you think Donald Trump's first year as President of the United States has gone so far?
Well, it's been unconventional, it's been controversial on an almost daily basis, but highly effective. And America is now going through a boom. Not just the tax cuts that you mentioned in your package, also deregulation on a very large scale. And now what you're seeing are big American companies, Apple this week, for example, reinvesting tens of billions into the US economy. And I was in Washington, D.C. the week before Christmas, and you kind of talk to taxi drivers and bartenders, and there's a feeling of real optimism in America. Ultimately, you know, whether it's prime ministers here or presidents in America, it is on the economic circumstances of a country that people are judged, and he's doing very well.
You said you were talking to taxi drivers about their opinion. Have you managed to talk to Donald Trump in recent times? Because at one point you were touting yourself as perhaps a go-between between the British government and Donald Trump in an effort to show yourself perhaps as someone who could bridge the relationship.
Yeah, I mean, the one regret really a year on is that the president has been to France on Bastille Day, and he's been to Brussels, he's been to Italy, to Poland. He's done big events all over the world, and yet the one country that he himself feels the closest to, don't forget his mother was Scottish, the one country that where he values our relationship in terms of security, in terms of defence, where he was very optimistic about putting together a trade deal, and I would say, frankly, we're now more or less at a standoff between Downing Street and Washington, and I think that's to be regretted.
Have you spoken to him recently?
Not for a little bit, no, but the last time I did, the one thing that struck me really very squarely was his absolute determination to carry out the things upon which he was elected. You know, when Trump puts a manifesto before the American people, he doesn't do it for short-term tactical advantage. He does it because he intends to carry it out, and that's one of the things that I really do admire about him.
What do you make of opinion polls? Because when you look at the opinion polls relating to Donald Trump, his average approval rating, so to speak, in the United States is 39%, the lowest recorded of any elected president in the first term. He's officially one of the most unpopular presidents in the modern era after 12 months in office. This is according to Gallup. These are those figures. How does that tally with what you're saying in terms of, well, he's delivered what he said in the manifesto and the economy's doing better?
Because these polls basically are asking you, do you like the president? You know, George Bush Sr. had an approval rating after the first Gulf War over 80%, and yet he lost the next election. And here's the point. You don't have to like your leaders, you have to respect your leaders and think they'll do a good job. And I would wager that with growth over 3% in America and set to rise this year, that come 2020, if he wants to run again for president, he'll win.
The book that's just been released on him, Fire and Fury. I wonder how I don't know if you've read the book. I've seen excerpts from the book, but one of the descriptions of President Trump from White House staff is childlike. I mean, this has done not much for his reputation in terms of the image he's portraying.
Yeah. Look, he is not a conventional political figure. He is a self-made real estate billionaire from New York, a city in which they kind of say things the way they see them. All through my life, I've met people in business, in politics, big, wealthy entrepreneurs, and every single one of them is idiosyncratic. And yeah, sure, you know, the president gets upset with things, the president gets angry with things. He's not like anybody else that's ever been inside that White House. But you know what? It doesn't matter, because one of the reasons that he won is people don't want career politicians like Hillary Clinton. Right. They want someone different, they want someone straight, and as I say, provided he keeps on doing the right job for the US economy, he will go down as a very successful president.
Well, you say he's different, but you know, you look at a campaign and you see what politicians promise, and that's what most people base their voting decisions upon. He promised a wall. This was one of his campaign promises. He hasn't delivered on that, has he?
You know, if you
he is like the other politicians in terms like that. He hasn't delivered.
If you compare what he's done in his first year to what the last 4 or 5 British governments have done, they promise things in their manifestos that they've even got no intention of carrying out. He has done some remarkable things. Tax reform, deregulation, these were all things that were promised in the manifesto. A massive crackdown on illegal immigration coming into America. And yes, he promised a wall. He's only 25% of the way through his term. I'm convinced there will be a wall. Okay,
let's move from a wall to a bridge. Apparently Boris Johnson thinks that we need to have more of a connection with the continent, with the EU, especially since Brexit is on the cards. What do you make of that? Boris Johnson saying we need more than just the Channel Tunnel.
Well, Boris Johnson likes the big grand projet, doesn't he? I mean, the previous thing he wanted was a big airport out in the Thames estuary. Now it's a bridge across the English Channel. All I can say is, given the size of the modern container vessels that come through the channel from China, it will have to be a very high bridge indeed, which means on many days of the year, when the wind's blowing, people won't be able to use it. Sounds like quite a big waste of money to me.
Nigel Farage, thank you.
You didn't frankly have the balls to put country...
As always, leave it to Nigel to tell it like it is. He's so matter of fact, and what I love about him is that he kind of laughs at these reporters that are interviewing him because he knows that he's right. And he knows that their questions are absolutely absurd. So I really appreciate Nigel. See, they're like one and the same. I wish that Nigel was your prime minister. Maybe one day, perhaps. But I love that Nigel is so supportive of a connection between the United States and the UK, where it seems like there are the powers that be, especially in the UK, that are underhandedly, or I should say, just trying to undermine the connection between the United States and the UK. Because, as I said the other day on one of our programs, if the connection between the UK and the United States is strong, then Brexit has a lot of force behind it. But if they can get those relations to cripple and be weak, then Brexit is a little bit weaker.
Absolutely.
That we need the EU. Well, you can have really great trade deals with the United States and with so many European countries individually, which will actually, in my opinion, make Great Britain stronger than it is in the EU.
The European Union, what the European Union does is it stifles growth, it stifles independence, it stifles small businesses.
Right.
It more than stifles small businesses, it destroys the entrepreneur. In America, we have a good leeway to start some small businesses and be entrepreneurs. Unfortunately, the bigger you get, the more regulations there are, and it's very difficult. But in the UK, it's almost impossible.
Yeah.
To just randomly go start your own business, and you should have the freedom to do that. I mean, the EU regulates everything that every person does in this entire area, and
it's communism.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. I like what Sean says here.
What somebody can grow in their garden. It's just ridiculous.
Has it really been a year since the crying and screaming at the sky by leftists that don't believe in democracy? LOL. And that's what I think of, unfortunately. When I think of Trump's inauguration, I think of the complete breakdown. And this, to me, it links with the UK. We've got the Ramoners that don't want to leave the EU, have that same kind of wah-wah crybaby attitude toward it as the leftists. Oh my gosh, Donald Trump has been elected and we don't have our mommy Hillary Clinton that nobody wants as their mommy anyway. I mean, the entire thing, it's this weird brainwashed link on the left, and I don't know how it's there. I think it's almost like that. It is socialism, it's communism, it's all these people that are just used to saying gimme, 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 and that's what the leftists in the United States are like too.
It's not even so much. I don't think it's that they're used to saying give me as much as it's used to leaders control and making sure everybody has health care, this or that. But when you do, the resources get really thinned out and nobody's actually thriving, per se.
When you talk about individual businesses, I guess also why they don't like that is it creates people that are independent.
You don't want to think clearly. If you're European in the EU, you have to think as a collective. It's a hive mindset. It's just like Star Trek. You have to be one of the hive.
Right.
And when people start to get out of that, you can't control the people, and then that gets the globalist upset.
You guys in the UK cut your public schooling short 2 years from what we have here. Now you can obviously carry on, but unfortunately, we have a solid 12 years of brainwashing here in the United States, which trains people to only be able to operate working for a boss in a system that gives them health care, that tells them what time they wake up,
5 days a week.
Somebody that tells them what they can and cannot do. They can't take off for their kids' football game, that sort of thing. And that's the same mindset. It's just a microism of what we're seeing on this huge scale, which is the government telling people what to do. And I have friends that are red-pilled, that know the truth, but their personalities are so ingrained to, I have to have a job, and I have to have insurance, and I have to be told what to do, and I want to go there, and I want the ease of just send me my paycheck. I show up, I do what you tell me, you send me my paycheck, you give me my health care. I want this system. And man was not created for that system. And I have had conversations with you guys as viewers that tell me the exact same thing. I know the truth. I know the system is corrupt, but I am just hardwired now because they rewired you from what a human should do.
It's called training a child. You get them at preschool, you get them at kindergarten, and if you do the same thing over and over again, it's really, really, really difficult to unplug yourself out of the matrix. It almost takes a miracle of God to unplug yourself out of the matrix. when you think about people like Donald Trump, he couldn't be childish and be a billionaire,
right?
Because he created his dad gave him a loan, like $1 million, and that's not very much when you're starting off in New York City in real estate. It would be great for me, you know, somebody give me $1 million to start a business, but then he invested and he did these things, and so you have these globalists who are upset because if there's billions of dollars being made, that person needs to back and support the globalists,
right?
And Donald Trump doesn't. And that's why the entire world of the globalists, the New World Order, is mad at Donald Trump. Not because he's rich, not because he's actually built businesses.
No, because they are all that. They do all that.
But they're saying if you're going to do that, you need to bow and hail to Satan. And he left the club. And he's like, no, and they're all like, no. You can't leave the club. And he's like, go on, baby.
Right. And he's causing people to, Britt Baza had said, you mean sheeple. He's causing the sheeple to actually just become their own, you know, entity and to do their own thing, have their own businesses. And you can't have that in a socialistic society that they want to keep us bound to. So it's identical what's going on in the UK, what's going on in Europe as what is happening here.
And I would pray, and I would ask you guys to pray and ask the Lord to give you strength in order to step out and to be more independent.
Right.
To not be. The funny thing is that when we were talking about this UK interviewer blamed Donald Trump of being childish, when, to be honest, it's very childish to say the government pays for my schooling, the government pays for my education, the government pays for my health care. You're literally going like, you know, Oliver Twist. Please, sir, can I have some more? You know, we need to be, we're getting back, and I'm going to encourage people, because it's not that we need to be, that we are getting back to nation states, right? So that the nation states don't rely on the globalists and the EU. So when you go to the place where your nation isn't relying on other nations, the individuals need to be like our founding fathers, okay? Our founding fathers didn't have a safety net. As an adult, you don't get a government safety net. When something goes wrong, then, oh, she stepped on the dog.
Sorry, Sydney.
She stepped on the dog.
I was taking a drink, didn't even see she was there. I just like totally stepped on her. I'll give her a treat.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I didn't mean it.
She didn't mean it. I'm going to move on from there anyways. It's a good break. Jeremy Corbyn faces race row for making white people pay more than ethnic minorities to hear a speech.
Huh?
So it was going to cost £40 to go hear this speech, but people who were part of the BAME, the Black and Ethnic Minorities, could get in for $10 less. So Labour was accused of racism. They're obviously anti-Semitic, and now they're racists against white people, even though they're all white people. All right, Jeremy Corbyn faced a race row last night for making white people pay more than ethnic minorities to hear him deliver a speech.
That's racist. Oh my gosh,
The dispute erupted over decision by Labour chiefs to charge black and ethnic minority activists £10 less per ticket than white activists to attend a rally next month. Tory MPs last night accused Labour of racism and said it was further evidence that the party had abandoned the white working class. No, they're not part of the white working class anymore, honey. Labour officials defended the decision to make white party members pay £40 to attend the East Midlands Labour gathering in Loughborough on February 17th. And they said, in contrast, the charge for black and minority ethnics, the BAM members, was £30. The Labour spokesman said, the basic price of a conference pass is the same for all members, but at the request of the East Midlands Regional Board, the party will subsidise part of the cost of this year's conference pass for anyone not white, to encourage the attendance of non-white people and to improve our representation of non-white people to make us look better. Conservative Vice Chairman James Cleverly said discriminating against people based on the colour of their skin is totally wrong, and Mr. Corbyn must end this practice now. James Cleverly looks like a non-white person. Leicestershire Conservative MP Andrew Brigham added, this is racism. In effect, Labour is levying a tax on the basis of the colour or lack of colour of a person's skin. It shows their contempt for the white working class. Mr. Brigham said the insanity of the idea meant that, in theory, wealthy Leicester Labour MP Keith Vaz, whose family has Indian roots, would pay less to attend the event than a much less well-off Labour activist. In Corbyn's Orwellian parallel universe, we are all equal, but some are more equal than others, he added.
So what says, remember, it is not racism if it is against Caucasians.
So weird, man.
It's just not. I gotta tell you something, all right? My shirt, relatively white, okay? This is white. Caucasian, okay? Black people are more or less brown. All right, everybody has
a little
color.
bit of brown. Everybody has.
We're all
some
a little
brown in
bit
them.
of color, man. Okay,
No,
that's what it is. This is absolutely absurd. It is ridiculous. You cannot tell somebody that they have to pay more to get into a venue because of the color of their skin, regardless of what that color
they're lacking
is.
Pigmentation.
Because I mean,
what if they're
seriously,
albino?
What if they're like? Well, okay, hang on. Asian people are the same like color skin as we are, give or take.
I guess they could get in because they're what might be an ethnic
I'm
minority.
just saying this. It's absolutely ridiculous. Oh my gosh. Let's see. The bee lady says, when I married my husband over 30 years ago, I lost all of my black friends and have had none ever since. I was a traitor, etc. Are you black? That's interesting.
That's sad. I'm sorry about that.
That is really sad.
Okay. This is actually in Minneapolis, but I wanted to bring this to you here because it came up. Muslim starts fires at Catholic University in Minneapolis, Minnesota, including the daycare, and says, "You guys are lucky I don't know how to make bombs."
Wow.
Tunza
Why doesn't
Jamal
that make
Hassan, 19,
front page news
of Minneapolis, was arrested this week after starting 6 to 8 fires at St. Catherine University in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Hassan told police, "You guys are lucky that I don't know how to build a bomb because I would have done that."
Okay, tell us how you really feel, Hassan.
The Star Tribune reported a former St. Catherine University student charged with setting fires at the college's St. Paul campus told police that she did it because she'd been reading about the U.S. military destroying schools in Iraq or Afghanistan, and she felt like she should do the exact same thing. You guys are lucky I don't know how to build a bomb because I would have done that. A woman who identified herself as Hassan's older sister in tears outside Hassan's first court hearing Friday declined comment. In addition to the sister, Hassan has a mother in the area who could not be reached for comment. An attorney retained by the Hassan family says it's a big shock and they are at a loss. And she appeared in court in a black and white hijab, gave only brief one-word answers to questions. According to the complaint, she told investigators she set 6 fires on the private Catholic University's campus. Most serious fires were in St. Mary Hall, a residential dormitory that also houses a daycare. There were 33 children, 8 adults in the building when the fire was set. But I guess because nobody died, it's no big deal. No big deal. What could be happening in this
So we
mind?
have an arsonist who has motivations based in terrorism, like Islamic terrorism. And they are setting fires. If a white kid had set these fires in a university because they were anti-Muslim or something like that, it would be over every. It would be the front page news on every newspaper, in every news channel, the BBC, worldwide. This would be all over the place. But because it's reversed, it gets tucked under the rug, and you can't talk about it. I
bet she was there on a scholarship.
Probably. So to answer the question, the bee lady says, yes, I am black. I'm educated, never under any government funds. I live on a farm and raise honeybees, just a regular Uncle Tom. So you're saying you lost all your black friends when you married a white guy, from what I understand. And she was saying that black people are often more racist than white people when they are racist.
What state did she say she was in?
No, I forgot. But seriously, it really is sad, and I don't understand. I do understand it. The Democratic Party, for lack of a better way to say it, has brainwashed a lot of the black community that white people have hatred. And there are white people that hate black people. Duh. I mean, there just are. It's wrong. But they've gotten them into this whole injustice. Like, everything that is wrong with their lives is because of every white person, which doesn't make any sense. It's insanity. So I understand why there's that.
I was talking to my friend last night, who, we grew up north of the Mason-Dixon line. We always joked about East Side, West Side, but there was no racism.
Right.
Like in my school, we had one black girl in my second grade class, and she was just a girl. She's just a girl. No one treated her any different. She was just a girl. I mean, the teacher though was a social justice warrior. I remember that a little bit now that I can look back on it. In high school, it's
hey, nice glasses. Go ahead. Patriot Gallery.
Well, you guys can expound on it. A while ago, we were in some things to make a little money on the side, and we met a lot of people from downtown. And the feel I got from they were black ladies, was we will never go back to the farm. That was slavery.
Right.
And then we told them how we were going back to the farm and we were growing cherry. And this lady's like, I could have planted a cherry tree 25 years ago and had cherry trees all this time.
Right.
She didn't realize she was brainwashed off the farm.
Right.
That farming actually means independence.
Correct.
And people could get out of the city, but they've been brainwashed that if they farm, that's slavery.
Right.
That is so true. That is absolutely true. So what you're doing, and more than anything else, bucking the trend, is farming is the big thing. If you look at the big picture, the globalists and the powers that be, it's a battle between good and evil. And the evil doesn't want you to be independent.
Right.
Definitely doesn't want you raising bees. Definitely doesn't want you to be...
and the bee lady is in West New York, right next to the Canadian line, by the way.
Is that where your friends were? That doesn't make sense to me. I mean, seriously, in Ohio, we didn't have... in my area, my little bubble, when I grew up in Cincinnati, you had, like I said, you had the east side, you had the west side. But it wasn't a big deal. I mean, race never dawned on me except in churches when a black family showed up.
And it was exciting.
Like, oh my gosh, there's a black family here. We're so excited.
And then you all got happy. And I wanted, before Patriot Gallery came out, I was thinking about my own, and maybe you guys have had your own personal experiences. And I understand that America is completely different wherever you're at. But here in Ohio, when I was going to school, I played softball and I was a cheerleader. And of course, obviously, I attended public school on and off.
And you did gymnastics?
I did gymnastics. And I always had one or two black girls on my team or in my class or whatever. And like Leah said, they were always just another girl.
Yeah.
It never, and no one in the class, not a single person, treated them differently because of the color of their skin.
Yeah, they were just another person.
They were just another person. We hung out. It doesn't make any sense where all of it, just because you are a minority, you know what I mean? You could be the only kid in class with long hair. I mean, there just may be something about you that makes you different than everybody else. Doesn't mean that people persecute you for that everywhere. There are places down south, definitely, where you might still get persecuted for it. But by and large,
there's such a divide, and there is a divide. When I was going to college, I think I guys told you guys, I was sitting next to a black guy in one of my classes, and it's church. It's a Pentecostal church, and in Pentecostal churches, it's black and white. You just mix, and it's never an issue. And race was never. I never knew it was. I honestly didn't know it was a thing. Okay, so I'm going to school, and those black kids who were north of the Mason-Dixon line were cool. But I was talking to my friend who was from Mississippi, and I said, so wait, you go to Pentecostal church in Mississippi and white people don't go to your church? He goes, no, in Mississippi, they have white churches and you have black churches. I'm like, but it's church. It's Christians. This isn't a thing. We're all God's children. And it just kind of shocked me at that point.
Right.
Because, like, the school that I went to was like an Oreo, because it was like people from all over the world, all different colors. And so it was... Sorry.
We can move on. We'll end on this funny note. Getting started on homesteading says, my chicken lays both brown and white eggs, but I eat them both.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter to me. Now, there are people that are racist with them eggs.
They won't eat those brown eggs.
We have people that the brown eggs are better for you, man.
That's not really true.
Okay.
That's homemade.
Farm-raised chickens that often lay brown eggs, as opposed to the white eggs, are better for you.
Right.
Excuse me. Homegrown, home-raised.
Some do lay white eggs, but very few heritage breeds lay white eggs.
Right.
So. Finnish presidential candidate echoes Trump and says wants to take Finland back. Laura Huhtasaari is a Finnish presidential candidate for the Finns party. She has a Trump-style message for Finland. The country is changing rapidly, and it is time to take Finland back. Implicitly, Huhtasaari refers to how political correctness is destroying her beautiful country.
Wow. It's in Finnish, right?
Rakkaat suomalaiset. Suomi muuttuu.
Yeah, dear Finland. Finland is changing at a dangerous pace. I'm going to turn it down so we can read what she says. Not that the people would want it that way, but because several politicians want to drive a social experiment. They're trying to make Finland a more tolerant country with open borders and neglect of immigration restrictions, the financing of multiculturalism, and forbidding speech criticizing immigration. These blind politicians walk hand in hand and get run over by a car. They do not see the danger because when your eyes are closed to reality, you can imagine whatever dream you want. At the same time, when economic migrants are getting a roof over their heads, the elderly have to stretch their pennies. At the same time, when police patrols are called to asylum centers, Finns in distress have to wait. At the same time, when asylum seekers are celebrating terrorist attacks, worried citizens are accused of hate speech. Your concern is not racism. Your longing for security is not backwardness. Take Finland back.
I like it. You know, we don't hear much from Finland, you know? Like, it kind of, I don't know, they're not doing a lot to make the news, but Finland is a really strong country, and this lady, I'm kind of excited that she's, I don't know, speaking out. This could be a new thing to watch. Like, we had Geert Wilders, we had Marine Le Pen, and now we don't know how to say huh. I liked how you pronounced that. You did a good job.
Sorry.
Sorry. I'm sorry we're messing your name up. Sorry.
All right. So, you guys remember when we told you about a school that had a hijab ban for small children?
Mm-hmm.
They reversed that ban after Islamophobia reactions. A well-regarded primary school has been forced to drop a ban on small children fasting and wearing Islamic headscarves after accusations of Islamophobia. Let me just tell you, small children don't fast, they starve. You starve small children. Adults, you may fast as much as you want. You cannot starve small children for religious purposes. Just not cool. St. Stephen's Primary School in Newman, a heavily Muslim-populated area of East London, made headlines when it announced the ban, which was welcomed by campaigners who said child veiling sexualizes youngsters and promotes extremism.
Now, I don't think we played this video. I think I only saw it and we didn't show it, but they interviewed different moms. Did you see that video? Different Muslim moms about what they thought about this ban. And I'll just tell you because I have no idea where it's at, but the first lady that came on was completely covered in the whole, what did we call it the other day?
Niqab, right?
I don't know, black thing. And she was just so upset that, you know, we should be allowed to, you know, put our children in whatever. Then they had women in the various different forms that we covered the other day, just the regular hijab and headscarf and stuff like that. And they were like, no. Even one lady did have part of her face covered. And even she was like, no, we should not be putting these little girls in these headscarves. She said, I think it should be, well, at least 8, if not more. And for those of you that are just joining Resistance Chicks family, you may not know that we've covered a lot about the fact that the wearing of the headscarf is almost like, do you guys remember how a girl, when she got her first heel, it was about this big, or she could wear her hair up, or wear makeup or something like that. It sexualizes, and it doesn't exactly sexualize, but it does. It means she is now mature. It means that she's kind of ready to be approached by a male or whatever for courtship. I'm going to go the pure route, but that's what it represents. And in the Muslim society,
the only reason the women veil themselves is to keep themselves from causing men to be sexually attracted to them.
Right. But even that, when you say it that way, which it's true, doesn't quite get the impact of what it means to the Muslim community. Because you could think, okay, well, maybe you just don't want, you know, maybe they don't want their little girls being looked at as sexual objects. So what's wrong with it? No, it literally is a maturing, sexualizing symbol of the child.
Well, I've seen interviews where fathers is that he said, if you know, As soon as you feel like you might be attracted to your child, cover them so you're not attracted to your child.
And that's ridiculous. It's absurd. So I wanted to insert that, but there were these moms that were like, no, the Muslims moms, because they get it.
There are numbers that say as soon as the younger and younger the women, the young girls have to cover up, the more likely they are to be sexually abused. Because what happens with these, unfortunately, these sick Muslim guys, is they actually see the hijab as something sexual. They've turned it into, it's a fetish.
Yeah.
It's a sexual fetish with these dudes, right? So they see it on a child. They're like, oh, it's, you know, and so anyways. All right, so St. Stephen's Primary School in Newham, a heavily Muslim populated area of East London, made headlines when announced the ban, which was welcomed by campaigners who say child availing sexualizes youngsters and promotes extremism. The school also argued that it could be dangerous for young people to fast and could possibly hurt their concentration and learning, which it really can. Everybody tells you when you're going to take a test or something, make sure you have a good breakfast. You can't have kids go through Ramadan and not eat from morning till sundown.
No, that's child abuse. I don't care what religion you are at. You should never ask your child to fast. I will say this. If your kid comes to you and says, I would like to fast, even as a parent, I think you should only allow it to be almost a representative. Okay, we fast lunch, we fast dinner, we fast something simple or small.
You're going to bed without dinner as a punishment. Okay, right. So children, don't need to be doing these kind of things.
No.
The school also argued that it could be dangerous for young people to fast. However, Muslim parents and left-wing campaigners reacted furiously. It's so funny how they all want women's rights except for if you're a Muslim.
Right.
It's okay to be totally misogynist if you're a Muslim. It's okay to abuse children if you're Muslim. It's okay to tell women what to wear if you're Muslim. It's okay to tell children what to wear if you're Muslim. But if you're, it just boggles my mind. Claiming that they had not been properly consulted on the new uniform and safety measures. The extremist groups such as Muslim Engagement and Development objected, and a group of local councillors published an open letter on Islamist sympathizing website 5 Pillars. The school's chair of governors, Arif Kawari, this Friday announced he was stepping down following the backlash, telling colleagues in an email reported by The Guardian, I wish the school continued success, and I'm truly sorry that my actions have caused any harm to the reputation of the fantastic school. The school's website posted a note on Friday described as a uniform police update reading, we have spoken to our community. We now have a deeper understanding of abusing children, and we will continue to abuse children. I'm sorry, that's not what it says, but that's what it means. The matter, and have decided to reverse our position with immediate effect and allow the abuse of children. The note was later amended to read, the school has taken the decision to make the changes to this policy with immediate effect, and this follows on from our conversations with our school community, allowing pedophiles to sexualize children. We will work with our school community to continue to review this policy going forward in the best interest of our children, but what it really means is of the Muslims who want to abuse children. And I'm not saying that they all know what they're doing when they're doing this, but it's insane. Amina Lone, an activist who has lobbied the government to ban hijabs in schools for very young girls, slammed the school's capitulation on Twitter. This is an important step in promoting religious extremism, mob rule, and refusing to give Muslim young girls equal gender equality rights. A result of clique activism in all its polarized glory. So much for choice and individual liberty. Terribly sad day for secular democracy. This is happening in the UK. You should be free in the UK, but you're not. You're not. You shouldn't have Sharia law in the UK. Miqdad Versi, Assistant Secretary General of the Islamist-linked Muslim Council Britain, said his organization welcomed Mr. Kawari's resignation because of his allegedly appalling statements about Islamic veiling. This decision on religious symbols does not appear to target adherents of other faiths and appears to have been made without consulting the parents or community. So in America and in other parts of the world, the Amish children have to put a little bun thing, covers their bun on their head.
Hair.
And if that was the thing, it might be different. But that bun, the cover, is not a sexualization of children. Nobody says they don't. It's totally a different thing. It doesn't.
Right.
It just is. It sets the Amish apart, but it doesn't. It's not because it's sexualized. It's just to make
It's just to make them look uniform.
Right.
Which is totally different.
Yeah.
So let's see. Vlad 3 says that. It's quote. This is a quote from Muhammad Ali. it's nature to want to be with your own. I can't confirm that, but it does sound like something that Muhammad Ali would say. Sean says, Sean and Tracy, they are fantastic. They're some of our moderators and good friends. Loves to throw a wrench in my spoke for the show. I haven't had a chance to eat much today. We've been busy. And he comes on and says, oh, that was nice. Just had some hot wings from Chicken George, the only non-halal meat chicken shop in Luton. Hee hee. And wow, the chicken is so good there. P.S. It's Tommy Robinson's favorite. Thank you for talking about your chicken wings arriving on our show. That was not exactly, at least it wasn't fish and chips.
So this is from September of last year. I want to kind of go over this. Hijabs for 5-year-olds, part of approved uniform at thousands of English schools.
Wow.
Children as young as 5 are being allowed to wear hijabs by potentially thousands of state primary schools, alarming campaigners who say the Muslim headscarf sexualizes children. The rise of British primary schools, including hijabs, in their approved uniform lists, I think, I'm not sure how many it is, it surveyed 800 schools, but I know it's growing, noting growing concern over hijabs increasingly appearing in primary school uniform lists. Educator regulator Ofsted is looking at whether there's evidence that schools are facing external pressure from parents and religious groups. It's hijab girl and children's book slammed for sexualizing 4-year-olds. Almost 1 in 5, 18% of schools surveyed across 11 regions list Islamic headscarf as part of their uniform policy.
And here's the thing, I just don't know
if children and
if all of our viewers, and maybe I'm just not giving you guys enough credit, but I don't know if we're getting the point across, because when you look at those pictures, and they choose these pictures a lot of times to make it look like it's just cute. When I was watching that video with these moms, these Muslim moms, they were saying if you allow the hijab, then it creates a peer pressure to the other Muslim children to wear it. Do you understand that? So it's not just allowing one child to wear a hijab. It then creates the peer pressure from I don't want to say religious, but that's the best word that I have. From a religious standpoint, well, she is wearing the hijab, and now I have to put my child in the hijab, or else I'm going to look whatever. Like I'm trying to go against and not defend, Muslim rights or whatever. So I'm just saying, this is a big deal. It's not just like you were saying with the Amish wearing their little bonnets or something like that. It's completely different. And I'm hoping, I know most of you guys get it, but for the off viewer that's here, I'm hoping that may sink in a little bit.
Yeah, so YouTube search, I was saying that I could find the video, but pretty much everything, if you Google, on YouTube, if you Google hijab sexualizes girls, it's all on how to wear a hijab with style.
Wow. And
how to put it on girls. And yeah, so I'd have to go to like My Stealthy Freedom or something to show you that. But this kind of goes with this. Justin sent me this. This happened, I think, this was posted in October. And this is a woman. I'm done with this niqab thing. I don't know exactly what she's saying, but you can kind of get it from her body language. Can I just fill it in? Islam is evil. It makes me wear this thing.
I hate this thing. I can't breathe in it.
It's black. It's hot in the sun.
I can hardly see out of it.
I'm going to burn it. Taking this thing off.
Done with that. Now I can breathe.
I'm putting it in my happy bucket. Bam, baby. Done with that.
Now I can be happy again.
Throw that away. I'm taking this thing off. Man, it makes me hot.
Oh, geez.
Can't even move my hair with that thing.
My neck feels so much better.
Whew, I feel better. I'm taking this pin thing off. Why am I wearing this? This is ridiculous.
Hide my whole body.
I hate this thing.
Look, I own jeans. There's a real person under there.
I'm not just some sort of walking robot. I'm done. You see this book here? I'm done with this book, too. I'm throwing this in my happy bucket. It's going to make me happy.
Yeah.
You're not going to tell me. You're going to put me in prison for not wearing this stupid thing. The words in this book oppress me. I'm done with Islam. I'm putting it in my happy bucket. I'm done. See you later.
Boom.
Goodbye. I am done with that.
Adios. You can throw that in their happy bucket.
Have a great day.
love that her trash can has a smiley face on it. I'm wondering if that was on purpose.
I hope so. Calling it her happy bucket. So yeah, when you actually talk to the women in Western countries, with the hijab, it's an empowerment and they love it.
Right.
But when you talk to the people who are forced to wear it, they're not so happy about it. We've showed you guys my Stealthy Freedoms video where they're just in tears. They hate wearing, and that black thing, that is evil. You know, that is beyond evil to make people do that. And last but not least, I want to show this little clip of Italy here. Look at this trash. This is Italy. If you're going to come to a country and make it better, this is not how it's going to happen. This is what, you know, Paris looks like.
Wow.
What has happened to my country? What is this place?
It's become a trash heap.
It's a trash heap. I don't know if is it still playing? Yeah, it's still playing. He turned his... What is this? What is this?
Wow.
He's pretty upset.
That's really sad.
He didn't show his face. So.
Oh my gosh. So, is that what you have left for today?
Yeah, pretty much.
So Justin Hughes had sent me breaking news from RT. Missiles hit Turkish town near Syrian border. Casualties reported. From today.
Yeah. So
pull that up.
Turkey decided to go into Syria, but go ahead and
send it to you, or just,
you can just.
Well, if I open it up, it may just play in the background.
Oh, it's a video?
Well, I don't know what it is. I haven't had a chance to open it up yet.
Yeah, I wasn't. You know, what's going on in Syria is always really insane. Oh, speaking of RT, we got an email and
let me pull that up while you're getting your thing. Let me just do that. All right, so I get an email from Twitter, and I want to read it to you because Twitter is very concerned for my mental safety as a Twitter user that I may have tweeted out.
You've got mail.
There it is. Sorry, guys. From some people that were Russian bots, and they have been taken down, but that I need to be aware. It says, "Dear Resistance Chicks, as part of our recent work to understand Russian-linked activities on Twitter during the 2016 U.S. presidential election, we identified and suspended a number of accounts that were potentially connected to a propaganda effort by a Russian government-linked organization known as the Internet Research Agency. Consistent with our commitment to transparency, we are emailing you because we have reason to believe that you either followed one of these accounts or retweeted or liked content from these accounts during the election period. This is purely for your own information purposes and is not related to a security concern for your account. We are sharing this information so that you can learn more about these accounts and the nature of the Russian propaganda effort. You can see examples of content from these suspended accounts on our blog if you are interested. People look to Twitter for useful, timely, and appropriate information. We are taking active steps to stop malicious accounts and tweets from spreading, and we are determined to keep ahead of the tactics of bad actors." Well, there's a lot of bad actors in Hollywood tweeting out.
A lot of porn on that Twitter.
For example, in recent months, we have developed new techniques to identify accounts manipulating our platform, have improved our process for challenging suspicious accounts.
Have you investigated George Soros and the Open Society?
Introduced new measures designed to identify and take action on coordinated malicious activity. In 2018, we are building on these improvements. Our blog also contains more information about these efforts. People come to Twitter to see what's happening in the world. We are committed to making it the best place to do that and to being transparent with the people who use and trust our platform. Thank you, Twitter.
You could actually, I don't know if you want to send me a link to that blog where you can bring up to show them behind me, where I looked it up and I actually was following. I guess there was Tennessee GOP, I guess, was a Russian linked Twitter account, and it was just putting out anti-Clinton things, and so they didn't want them to do that anymore. So
I can put it in the Google Docs if you want.
It's pretty intense there. You know, you don't want to. All right, so
yeah, that's really awesome.
Yeah, so some of these examples were Obama called me clinger, Hillary called me deplorable, terrorists called me infidel, Trump calls me an American. So that was pretty evil. This one was Tennessee GOP. I know I followed them. And you don't even need these polls. Donald Trump won. You can read it on Bill Clinton's face.
But that's funny.
FBI Director Comey resigned now. Cops have killed 68 people in 22 days.
Can I just tell you guys that I don't care?
RT.
Like, does that matter? That I don't care that this was a Russian, whoever person, pretending to be Tennessee. I don't care. Because why? The things that they were tweeting out were true. I don't care if they came from Russia. They're right. Who cares where the information came from?
They called it malicious. You know, there's a lot of accounts on Twitter. You don't know who they are. It's so weird. All right, so missiles hit Turkish towns near Syrian border. Casualties reported. The Turkish border town of Reyhanli has been hit with multiple missiles fired from northern Syria amid Turkey's military operation, leaving one person dead and dozens injured. Another missile reportedly hit the town of Kalis.
Kali? No. Okay. Well, it's spelled like Kali, so I was just wondering if you were... Go ahead. I know where it is. I wasn't reading here. Go ahead.
At least one person was killed and 32 others wounded in Reyhanli. And speaking to a Turkish channel in TV, one Syrian lost his life with 32 injuries. 2 are seriously injured. So, yeah, there's some crazy things going on. 4 cars as well as businesses and residential properties were reportedly damaged in the attack. Police have been deployed to the area. CNN Turk reported that a 4th missile hit the town shortly after the first salvo. Now, Turkey invaded Syria, northern Syria, and Syria's fighting back. So, war happening. Probably
don't even need volume for that, if I had to guess.
Guys, I have no love for the Turkish President Erdogan. I have no love for the Turkish government. They are creating an Islamic state. You're never going to have peace in the Middle East as long as you have Islam.
True. You
will never, because Muslims will always fight Muslims. They just do it. They don't fight us Christians, and they're going to fight other Muslims. That's what they do. I'm sorry.
Okay, we're outside London.
They don't want peace. They have different kinds of They have different kinds of Muslims, and they're always going to be fighting each other over something.
Okay, so Britt had asked me, aka Barry. Well, first get to mom's. I can read it. I read over it. Can you read it?
Sure.
My mom always likes to give a word of encouragement. She could have come out and just given this herself, but she wrote it on a note instead. And she said that abusive relationships, this is about Islam, abusive relationships and people, they're the type of people that want control. They want to control everybody. Religion should bring peace to your mind. And it says that whether it's Muslims, Islam, your government, Twitter, they all are abusive. They all want violence. They all want fighting. And so she brings a message of encouragement, and it is just pray. Pray to Jesus. Jesus really will set you free from all of these abusive people. Jesus is peace. He is the Prince of Peace. So Barry has sent me a link that I haven't had a chance to watch, but it's of Paul Golding, from what I understand, outside of London's biggest Sharia court. And we're going to play that here in a minute. I'm going to drop it in there. But also, he had sent me a couple of things in my messenger that I just want to read out loud. I think one has to do with what we covered on our show the other day. And it says, ecclesiastical courts illegal. That the commission for erecting the late court of commissioners for ecclesiastical causes and all other commissions and courts of like nature are illegal and pernicious. This is the exact wording in Article 3 of the Bill of Rights in 1689. Leah's like, that's a 699. And this Bill of Rights is common law in the UK, so cannot be altered or changed by any MP or act of the British Parliament, because Parliament can only act under the statute law according to its own constitutional law. So the Bill of Rights in its entirety still stands as the law and constitution of the UK. So why are these Sharia or religious courts being used here in the UK when there are no other religious commissions or courts in the UK. Even the British legal system is not a religious system because it's not allowed to be according to the Bill of Rights of 1689. He says, I'm sure you know this, but for those that don't, ecclesiastical courts means religious and pernicious means dangerous in the Oxford English Dictionary. So I want to go ahead and play this. I'm going to bring it over here to our little thing and add it so we can watch and see. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, so forgive me for not knowing what's coming. But Barry says we can cover it, and I appreciate Paul Golding, so let's just give it a go and see what happens.
There are several reasons why you can't have religious courts, but especially...
Okay, we're outside London's biggest Sharia court, as you can see there. We've been inside this Sharia court before, and we went inside there. They've got an absolute makeshift court inside that building, where they've got a panel where judges sit, and they've got 2 tables where both sides of the dispute sit. So it's a full-on Sharia court in this building. The police, the council, the government, you know, there's over 100 of these Sharia courts operating all over the UK, and nothing is done about them. Nothing. And this one, everyone knows about this one. I say we've exposed it several times, but nothing's done. This is a parallel legal system which is known to rule based on Sharia law. Believe it or not, these are Sharia law courts. So there's been scandals in the newspapers whereby some of these courts have actually sided with the man in domestic violence cases. You know, there's been lots and lots of scandals. These courts are a parallel legal system, and they exist for one reason only, and that is to basically all the Muslim community around here, there's big pressure on all of them to bring their disputes to the Sharia courts, not to bring their disputes to the British legal system, but to bring their disputes here to this Sharia court. This is just one of them. It's over 100 operating in this country, a parallel legal system. There's no such equivalent in the Jewish community or the Sikh community or the Hindu community or the Christian community. Everyone else in this country seems to abide by the law, and they use the law of the land, the legal system, the British legal system, but there's one community in this country that insists on having its own parallel legal system, and that is the Muslim community. And as I say, we've been in there before. There's a court in there, and there's been lots and lots of scandals associated with the Sharia courts. It's about time the government stepped in and shut them down, because this is just a scandal. Imagine if a group of Christians went to Saudi Arabia, started setting up Christian courts in, some of the, like Mecca and Medina, started setting up Christian courts, started having Christians come to them and ruling on disputes. Now, they'd be shut down very quickly, very, very quickly. This is basically usurping the sovereignty of our legal system, and I do not know why they are still operating. But this is the sad reality of our country. You know, over 100 of these Sharia courts just all over the country, and we've got the Muslim grooming scandal, we've got terrorism, we've got extremism, hate preachers, extremist mosques, extremist speakers in these mosques. It's happening all over the country. Nothing's done about it. They are literally preparing a nation within a nation. They're not integrating. They're not integrating into our British way of life, into the British legal system, into the British political system. They are just using it to bring about Islamic areas where they live according to their own rules set down by these Sharia courts. So it's a national scandal, and I do not know why it's allowed to prosper within our country. We're just outside the biggest Sharia court in London, in the southeast of England. It's in East London, Milford. Now, due to a High Court injunction that affects both Deputy Leader Jada Franson and myself, we cannot even step on these steps here. We cannot step on the premises. We cannot go in there. But this is a fully functional Sharia court in the heart of East London, and we cannot go in there because of a High Court injunction. How ridiculous is that? So it's absolutely ludicrous that these courts exist in our country. You know, what is going on? You wouldn't catch Christian courts in Muslim countries. See if we can get someone to come out and speak to us. The front door's wide open, but we cannot go in there. We'd be risking 2 years in prison going in this Sharia court. 2 years in prison. And I'm pretty sure that they know we're here and they're not going to answer. As you can see, it's quite a big building. If I remember from the last time we was here, the Sharia court is situated exactly where...
Okay, so This is a story about the moment a Muslim mother is forced to ask the permission of Islamic clerics in a British Sharia court to divorce her drug dealer husband.
So why can't she just go to the UK courts and say, I would like a divorce?
I know. A number of Sharia courts operating behind closed doors and beyond the reach of British law. Why can they be beyond the reach of the law? Continues to grow pace. A new documentary has exposed what really happens during the shadowy proceedings. There are believed to be 85 Sharia courts in the UK, and last night, this is from before, but Channel 4 actually did like a year-long expose and captured inside the Birmingham Central Mosque as a council dispensed its strict religious form of justice. Viewers witnessed the struggle of a mother for Fatima, 33, as she sought permission to divorce the drug dealer husband she has been emotionally abused by for 14 years. The Islamic court, which seeks to provide Muslims with resolutions to financial, familial, and marital disputes according to the principles of their faith, granted her request. But that she was forced to plead her case at all is in stark contrast to the divorce process for Muslim men who only need to tell their spouse, I divorce you 3 times.
Wow, that's kind of like, it sounds like a witchcraft thing or something, a spell. I divorce you, I divorce you, I divorce you, poof, you're divorced.
I guess this
is ridiculous.
There is one chick who sits on that Sharia law council.
It's very childish, isn't it?
Yeah.
And what happens if he says it and he's just angry and doesn't mean it? Does he have to go, no, just kidding, I marry you, I marry you, I marry you, I marry you again to reverse it? I mean, that seems to be logical.
Let's see here.
1 wife or 4 wives. From finding someone special,
so marriage,
to discovering who you really are.
I see myself as British, and I like the British culture more than I like the Pakistani culture.
As they find themselves under more scrutiny than ever.
Just because I don't wear a Union Jack flag on all the time, does that make me any less British?
What does it mean to be part of the Muslim community in the UK today?
Such happy propaganda.
Women are covered up.
There is a person behind this veil.
Having British values is caring about people.
A revealing insight into extremely British Muslim.
They say it's so happy.
It is so happy.
Weird. They're so weird.
We just want you to give us a very...
Wait, sorry.
That is...
Let's try again. I love technology.
A very short summary of what is it that is breaking this marriage?
I've been married to him for 14 years. He's been into prison for over 2 years. He was arrested for drug dealing, weaponaries and stuff that they found in his car. And I've been on my own with my children. No support from him to raise the children or support towards me. There was emotional abuse.
Yay!
Wow. That seems to be pretty straightforward. If she wants a divorce, you give her a divorce.
Yeah, so the Islamic Sharia Council was founded in 1982.
My daughter's just got married in October. And
just
I haven't
gonna mute that. The Islamic Sharia Council started in 1982 in the UK. In 2015, Daily Mail investigated and revealed that 85 Islamic courts, most attached to mosques, were dispensing justice across the UK at the time. This is not integrating. How not to integrate into a country. It told how the fate of vulnerable Muslim women was placed in the hands of elderly clerics who were heard to lay out medieval-sounding rulings to those seeking an escape route from an ill-fated marriage. It cited the Dutch academic, I'm not going to be able to say his book's called Choosing Sharia, which describes a senior cleric claiming it was wrong to prosecute men who raped their wives. And another who, upon learning of the plight of a woman who had not seen her errant husband in 4 years, refuses her divorce application and lectures her instead on the scientific reasons for polygamy. Z, an atheist, argued that there is enormous cultural pressure on Muslim women to settle family disputes via Islamic courts rather than normal courts. Under Islamic law, a man need only say I divorce you 3 times. It's so ridiculous. Weird. And you've got these let's see, it came, the Islamic Sharia Council vigorously disputed much of what was reported in Z's findings. It came after hardline Islamists declared their intention to implement a Sharia law zone in the London suburb of Waltham
it's a no-go zone then,
in 2011. You don't get Sharia law. Do you understand what England has gone through? The history of religious persecution? Do you understand that people were burned at the stake? Do you understand that first they were Catholic and then they're Protestant, and people get put in prison and people were killed for religious beliefs, and you don't get to have religion.
An alternative law system. And here's what I wanted to say when I was watching Paul Golding, and I jokingly said, when he said, what would happen if we were, was it Pakistan, and they were doing like Christian courts, and I said I would rather have that. And here's why. Because it's completely different. By and large, at least modern day, or I would say the past 200, 100 years, Christian law is kind of equality and justice and goodness. And unfortunately, what we see with the Sharia courts is none of that. You don't see equality. You don't see justice. Basic human rights are not given out in a Sharia law court. And that is why I would rather have a Christian court. We see love and mercy and real justice happening, where a woman, if her husband is abusive, if her husband isn't abusive and she just wants a daggum divorce, if somebody doesn't want to be married anymore, they just get to not be married anymore. Okay, it's really that simple. So to me,
and I'm going to tell you something else. We talk about this all the time. We get these scarves out.
Here it comes.
And because my grandma has a drawer full of scarves, I'm gonna make everybody crazy and bring out my Irish ones.
Don't bring out the Irish one. That makes it like even worse. I don't think there are. I don't think you would see any Muslim wearing an Irish.
Isn't that awesome? But here's the thing: they cover their heads, and it's not just a covering of the head, right?
Mm-hmm.
You cover their whole heads, and you actually have to have 2 full scarves to understand the ridiculousness.
Or you can do it with like mine.
Well, that's pretty cool. But yours is longer.
Right.
Mine. See, I don't even have a scarf long enough to do this. I need like a. I know what I need.
Okay.
Okay.
It's always helpful to give a visual aid. Okay. I think I'm good.
Yeah. This is like a bad look.
No, I think I succeeded. I mean, obviously my neck is showing. I could go to jail for that.
You look a lot better. Kind of look like a gangster.
You do. I don't even know what you look like right now. You look like a gypsy.
That's what I do look like.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
There you go. That's better.
Here's the thing. When you're covering your head like this, you really can't function outside to do a lot of work. So, you're not going to farm. We're farmers, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to be able to wear this
and
farm. It's going to get too hot.
I'm not happy right now.
I'm not going to be able to run outside. Kids really can't play. You get so hot. I mean, the only way, and we discussed this, the only way this works is if Islam is in the Arctic Circle or in the winter months of, in the winter months. I get that in the winter months because but see, sometimes
you're
you get
in the
hot.
desert and you want to keep sand out of your mouth.
But if you're running around and you're talking to people and they can't see your face, how are you going to understand exactly what I'm saying if my whole face is covered?
Right.
Are you really going to watch my show?
Right.
If you can't see my face and my facial reactions. Through this one I can see.
Yeah.
Through this one I can see. But we give these visuals just to give you an idea that it's not normal.
And I'm bringing, I think the other day I said I was breathing in my own carbon monoxide. That's like natural gas kind of thing. Dioxide. It's but you're breathing in your own, like,
you need fresh air. Is
old
what she
air.
means. You need fresh air.
It's not enjoyable, and it doesn't like.
I like scarves.
There's no freedom. I don't feel
but
free.
You need to be able to be free. Yeah.
Yeah. This is absolutely ridiculous. So, I think everyone, like a Resistance Chicks assignment, all male and female.
Try to go all day with a hijab on.
No, don't do that. Just try it on and just sit there for 5 minutes. It's enough. 5 minutes is enough. All right. Do we have anything else?
No.
That's the end.
No, I have some stuff to cover.
Ooh, did you want to do that? Maybe what we'll do is we'll sign off here and do about 30 minutes of American news.
Yeah.
All right. Because we have some news from the United States. We could either wait and bring it to you tomorrow or sign off here, finish this video, give us about 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes. I don't know how long it takes to process, or it may just be the wrong thumbnail. So we'll see you guys back here shortly. I want to thank all of our moderators who were here tonight. Sean, I think Gary was here. Maya, was Kelly here today? Sooks was here.
Find
so.
us on Resistance Chicks YouTube because our Mass Faith 3 has not been resolved.
Yeah, we're still in suspension there. I've had emails in response. They're just saying they're working on it very nicely. We've been very kind, right, so far, as far as dealing with YouTube on this. So we have a P.O. Box, 107, Milford, Ohio, 45150. If you want to send us cards or letters in the mail, we will read them on air. And we'll see you guys back here shortly. Don't forget, it's not just a conspiracy theory.
If it's the truth.
All right. We love you guys. We'll see you back in a bit. God bless.